Beneath the shimmering vault of stars where light travels endless eons to touch the human gaze, a question stirs. What is the nature of the mind that wonders? In the shadow of existence, we find ourselves poised between knowing and mystery, between the fleeting certainty of the tangible and the endless possibilities of the unseen. What then is consciousness? Is it the quiet observer behind our thoughts or the creator of the very fabric of our reality? In every moment, the mind flits across dimensions, past, present, future, threading its awareness into the tapestry of the cosmos. Is it merely the product of a biological mechanism, confined by the limits of neurons and synapses? Or is it the echo of something greater, a boundless field of connection, resonating with the pulse of the universe itself? If thoughts are but ripples upon the vast sea of the subconscious, what lies hidden in the depths? Beneath the surface of our awareness, what shapes our choices, our dreams, and the fleeting sparks of insight that feel as though they emerge from nowhere? And what of the moments when the observer seems to touch the observed, collapsing potentials into singular realities? What power lies in the act of attention, and how does the gaze of the mind alter the fabric of existence? The quantum world offers a strange and elusive mirror. Within its delicate equations and probabilistic dance, it hints at a truth. The observer is not separate from the observed. What if consciousness itself is the key to this dance, the force that bridges the unthinkably small and the unimaginably vast? Could it be that our inner worlds are not bound by the limits of space and time, but stretch outward, weaving connections that transcend distance, uniting all that is? Two minds meet, and something stirs in the space between. Is it merely the exchange of words? Or does this spark ignite something deeper, a resonance, a shared potential? When we touch, do we not leave traces upon each other, subtle yet profound? If we are truly entangled in this way, where do the boundaries of the self end, and where does the other begin? And so we begin. The questions unfurl like stars across the night sky, inviting us to trace their constellations. What is the mind, and what is its role in shaping the universe it inhabits? Does consciousness arise from the material, or does it give rise to the material? What lies within us, and how do we reach outward to the infinite? This is not the search for answers alone. It is the exploration of the unknown, the embrace of uncertainty, and the daring leap into the field of potential. So please, accept this invitation to wonder, to imagine, and to create, both within and without, above and below, and join us on this examination of consciousness, from the conceptual to the practical to the artificial.
What if the world we perceive is just a shadow of a higher ultimate reality? How do these ideal forms shape our understanding of existence? Can our senses truly grasp the essence of what is real? Plato's theory of forms presents a profound metaphysical framework where the tangible world we perceive is merely a shadow of the true ideal forms. In this theory, what we see and touch and feel are imperfect copies of these ideal forms, guiding us to look beyond mere appearances. According to Plato, the true essence of things lies in their ideal forms, a perspective that reinforces our understanding of perception and reality. The forms, as the ultimate archetypes, anchor our perception of the world, illuminating the underlying truth of existence.
In the cavern's dark embrace, shadows dance on the wall. Prisoners bound by chains perceive this as their all. Shadows are mere reflections, crafted by evolution's hand, interfaces for survival, not the true vast land. A wall between their world and the deeper truth unknown. The fire's glow creates illusions, a world on its own. Limited perceptions through survival's lens they see, a cycle of reinforcement shaping reality. One prisoner breaks free, ascends from shadow's clutch, consciousness awakens, begins to see and touch, integrates the patterns, abstract forms so pure beyond the cave's illusions, a reality obscure. Emerging from the cave, the sun's truth does he see, a full integration of what was meant to be. Resonance guiding, evolution's craft, consciousness enlightened perceives the true path. Back to the cave he goes, to free the minds in chains. Enlightened now, he seeks to break their mental reins. Sharing deeper insights to collective wisdom lead, a cycle of enlightenment from the shadow freed. Yet resistance he does face, shadows are their creed, entrenched perceptions guard against the freed one's seed. Dissonance and barriers, cognitive and cold, new paradigms rejected, the old ways still hold. Perception, a tool evolved, a simplified view, survival is its purpose, but it's not the full truth. Shadows on the wall, mere fragments of the whole, interfaces of life obscuring the soul. Beyond these shadows lies reality so vast, abstract forms and patterns, connections from the past. Plato's forms, the essence, deeper truths they show. Perceptions are but whispers of what we need to know. Consciousness, the bridge from perception to the real. Integrating patterns, the truths it does reveal. Philosophical inquiry, the path it must tread from shadows to the sunlight where knowledge is spread. Morphic resonance, a field where patterns flow, collective memory shaping how we grow. Influences unseen, yet deeply they reside, perception, reality and consciousness allied. Perception shapes our world, a dynamic dance so true, each interaction hints at deeper patterns view. Reality is fluid, consciousness the guide, harmonic triads blend, perceptions coincide. By merging perspectives, patterns we reveal, holistic understanding, a cosmic wheel. Morphic fields align, triads harmonize, reality as consciousness evolving through our eyes. So in Journey Through the Cave, modern truths we find, perception, reality and consciousness combined. From shadows to the sunlight, our journey is clear, seeking deeper truths through the lens we peer. Consciousness can be seen as the awareness or subjective experience that arises within certain systems. It is the ability to perceive, reflect, and interact with the world in a meaningful way. However, consciousness is not just a passive observer, it actively engages with and shapes the reality it perceives. Consciousness cannot be understood in isolation. It is deeply interconnected with the systems that contain and manifest it, and the complex structures that emerge within these systems. The triad of self-contained systems, A, complexity, B, and emergent properties, C, provides a framework for understanding how consciousness arises from the interaction of these three elements. Each plays a crucial role in creating the phenomenon of consciousness, and their coexistence is essential for the system to function. Self-contained systems, A, refer to entities that maintain a distinct boundary and internal organization, enabling them to function independently within a larger environment. These systems are self-contained because they possess the mechanisms to regulate their internal states and sustain themselves over time. Examples include cells, organisms, ecosystems, and even the universe itself. A key characteristic of self-contained systems is that they arise naturally, with boundaries that separate them from their surroundings, allowing them to operate as autonomous units. Complexity B emerges as these self-contained systems interact with their environment and with other systems. Complexity is not merely about unpredictability, but rather about how simple components and interactions, through repetition and feedback loops, give rise to increasingly intricate patterns and structures over time. For instance, the complexity of a living organism arises from the multitude of interactions between its cells, organs, and systems, all governed by fundamental biological processes. As complexity increases, it sets the stage for the emergence of new properties and behaviors that cannot be reduced to the system's individual components. Emergent properties, C, are those novel characteristics or behaviors that arise from the complexity within self-contained systems. These properties are not present in the individual parts of the system, but come into being when the system operates as a whole. Emergent properties can include consciousness, metabolism, or ecological balance, phenomena that emerge from the complex interactions within and between self-contained systems. These properties are essential to the functioning and evolution of the systems themselves, providing new capabilities and adaptations that allow the system to thrive in a changing environment.
This framework explores consciousness as a dynamic, emergent property of complex systems, driven by the system's intrinsic tendency toward equilibrium. It posits that as systems evolve and become more complex, they encounter situations that disrupt the balance established by their existing logical structures. To restore equilibrium, these systems are compelled to adopt progressively higher levels of logical organization, leading to increasingly sophisticated forms of consciousness. At the heart of this framework is the concept of triads, groups of three interrelated elements that interact according to specific patterns. These triads represent the fundamental units of interaction within a system, with each pattern reflecting a different way in which the system maintains balance. The progression of consciousness begins with simple equivalence, where elements are balanced in a straightforward manner, and then moves through more complex patterns such as reinforcement, causation, and beyond. As systems encounter challenges that disrupt their existing equilibrium, they are pushed to reorganize their internal relationships using the next higher logical structure. This creates a progression where mental processes develop and become more complex over time. Each new level of complexity requires the system to integrate more sophisticated interactions, enhancing its capacity for self-regulation and equilibrium. This progression is driven by both biological factors and experiential learning as the system adapts to its environment. In this context, the development of consciousness is seen as a gradual ascent through these levels of complexity. As systems integrate higher-order triads and manage increasingly intricate relationships, they become more self-aware. The human brain, capable of navigating all these levels, exemplifies this process of conscious evolution. When a system can internally contemplate and understand these patterns, it becomes capable of recognizing and applying them in response to external experiences. This progressive framework aligns with Carl Friston's free energy principle, which posits that systems act to minimize free energy or surprise by reducing the discrepancy between their predictions and actual sensory inputs. As systems advance through more complex levels of logical organization, they become increasingly adept at managing these discrepancies, thus maintaining equilibrium and enhancing their conscious awareness. The following sections explore specific triads and their corresponding patterns, illustrating how consciousness emerges and evolves through this progressive process. Each level represents a step in the journey toward greater self-awareness, as systems refine their ability to maintain balance and adapt to their environment, ultimately leading to a fully integrated and conscious mind. Coexistence, symbiotic consciousness. At the foundational level, consciousness emerges from the mutual coexistence of elements. Here, the system's basic drive is to maintain balance through simple equivalence. Each element supports and stabilizes the others in a straightforward, interdependent relationship. This form of consciousness reflects an early stage where awareness is rooted in maintaining simple, mutually reinforcing connections. Disruptions at this level push the system to recognize and reinforce these relationships, preparing it for more complex interactions. Equilibrium, balanced consciousness. Consciousness here involves the system's ability to maintain balance by harmonizing the presence and absence of certain elements. This stage reflects a conscious awareness of the need to balance competing forces to sustain stability. When faced with disruptions, the system learns to modulate these forces more carefully, enhancing its capacity to maintain equilibrium through a refined sense of balance. Reinforcement, cascading consciousness. As consciousness evolves, it begins to recognize the cascading effects of interactions. In this stage, the system maintains equilibrium by reinforcing connections where the activation of one element triggers a supportive reaction in others. Disruptions that challenge these connections push the system to develop a deeper understanding of how actions and reactions are linked, leading to a more dynamic and interconnected form of consciousness. Feedback, inhibitory consciousness. Consciousness now involves understanding and managing inhibitory feedback loops. The system learns to maintain stability by recognizing that the absence or inhibition of certain elements can prevent instability in others. This stage reflects a growing awareness of the need to regulate and control interactions to avoid disruptions, leading to a more nuanced form of self-regulation and conscious control. Causal consciousness. Consciousness at this level becomes more sophisticated as it navigates linear cause and effect relationships. The system stabilizes itself by understanding and predicting the consequences of its actions. When faced with disruptions that defy simple causality, the system is pushed to refine its reasoning, paving the way for more complex forms of understanding and a more deterministic approach to consciousness. Reversive consciousness. Here, consciousness develops the capacity to revert to previous states to restore equilibrium. This stage reflects an adaptive consciousness that can cycle through different states to find stability. Disruptions that prevent easy reversions push the system to explore alternative paths, fostering a consciousness that is more resilient and flexible in its approach to maintaining balance. Nonlinear consciousness. Consciousness becomes significantly more complex as it begins to recognize and navigate nonlinear relationships. The system learns that not all interactions follow a straightforward path, requiring a more sophisticated approach to maintain equilibrium. Disruptions at this level encourage the system to embrace complexity and uncertainty, leading to a consciousness that is adept at managing intricate and sometimes unpredictable influences. Retrospective consciousness. At this stage, consciousness involves looking back at past outcomes to inform current decisions. The system maintains stability by retrospectively adjusting its internal states based on previous experiences. Disruptions that challenge the reliability of past patterns push the system to develop a more critical and reflective consciousness, capable of learning from history to better navigate the present. Inclusive consciousness. At this level, consciousness arises through understanding multiple causes, giving rise to the third element of a system, and thus understanding of the unified whole. By minimizing surprise across multiple influences, the system achieves a more comprehensive form of equilibrium. This inclusive approach represents a more complex form of consciousness that coordinates multiple elements to sustain stability. Exclusive consciousness. Exclusive consciousness emerges when the system realizes that certain elements, when absent, help stabilize the whole. The absence of one element can prevent destabilizing influences from affecting others. This form of consciousness is selective, manifesting in the system's ability to consciously exclude or isolate elements that could lead to instability, thereby maintaining equilibrium by refining and focusing on the most stable configurations. Conjoined consciousness. Conjoined consciousness arises when the system achieves stability by tightly integrating multiple elements that must interact simultaneously. Here, the central element serves as a hub, connecting and balancing the influences of both the first and third. The system must carefully manage these interactions to maintain equilibrium, reflecting a more complex consciousness that recognizes the necessity of simultaneous interdependent relationships. This manifests in the system's ability to sustain harmony among multiple interacting forces, creating a unified, balanced state. Bottlenecked consciousness. Bottlenecked consciousness occurs when the system identifies critical constraints, where the absence of one element can prevent the functioning of others. If the central element is absent or lessened, it restricts both others, creating a bottleneck that restricts the system's ability to maintain equilibrium. This form of consciousness manifests in the system's strategic focus on ensuring that key elements are present and aligned to overcome constraints, leading to a more deliberate and controlled approach to stability. Harmonic consciousness. Harmonic consciousness is characterized by the system's ability to achieve equilibrium through harmonious interactions among its elements. When any two elements are present together, they naturally lead to the emergence of the third, creating a balance and reinforcing cycle. This consciousness manifests as a sophisticated capacity for recognizing and fostering harmonious relationships, where the system continuously aligns its elements to produce a stable, mutually reinforcing whole. Dissonant consciousness. Dissonant consciousness emerges when the system must manage conflicting or opposing forces to achieve equilibrium. The absence of one element forces the system to balance the remaining two, even when their interactions are inherently dissonant. This form of consciousness manifests in the system's ability to navigate and reconcile tensions, maintaining stability by carefully balancing opposing influence within its structure. Convergent consciousness. Convergent consciousness arises when the system achieves stability by bringing multiple elements together into a unified state. Each element influences and reinforces the others, leading to a more integrated and cohesive equilibrium. This form of consciousness manifests as a higher level of complexity, where the system consciously manages and integrates diverse influences to achieve a strong, unified state. The system becomes adept at aligning and synthesizing multiple forces to create a more resilient and stable structure. Divergent consciousness. Divergent consciousness occurs when the system recognizes that the absence of one element can lead to the independent development of others. The absence of a pair of elements allows the remaining element to stabilize and function independently. This consciousness manifests as the system's ability to manage and sustain stability by allowing subsystems to diverge and develop autonomously. The system becomes more flexible and adaptive, capable of maintaining overall coherence while supporting the independent evolution of its parts. Combinatorial consciousness. Combinatorial consciousness arises when the system explores different combinations of elements to find the most stable configuration. The presence of any two elements can either facilitate or hinder the emergence of the third, depending on how they are combined. This form of consciousness manifests in the system's capacity to experiment with and optimize various configurations, ensuring that the most effective and balanced states are achieved. The system becomes more dynamic and creative in its approach to equilibrium. Divisional consciousness. Divisional consciousness emerges when the system achieves stability by allowing elements to function independently, dividing into distinct subsystems. The absence of a pair of elements allows the remaining element to emerge as an autonomous subsystem. This consciousness manifests in the system's ability to maintain stability through the separation and specialization of its components, leading to a more complex and diversified structure where different parts operate independently while contributing to the whole. Associative consciousness. Associative consciousness arises when the system understands how specific combinations of elements lead to particular outcomes. The presence of specific pairings directly influences the stabilization of the third element. This form of consciousness manifests in the system's ability to recognize and leverage the associations between elements, ensuring that the system achieves equilibrium through intentional and strategic combinations. The system becomes more skilled at managing relationships to create desired outcomes. Disassociative consciousness. Disassociative consciousness occurs when the system recognizes that breaking certain associations can lead to new and stable configurations. The absence of specific combinations allows the remaining elements to reconfigure themselves into a new, stable state. This form of consciousness manifests in the system's ability to disassociate and reconfigure elements to explore alternative pathways to stability, showing adaptability and innovation in maintaining equilibrium. Integrative consciousness. Integrative consciousness represents the highest level of conscious emergence, where the system fully integrates its elements into a cohesive and unified whole. The presence of all elements leads to a stable, well-functioning system where each part reinforces the others. This consciousness manifests as a profound capacity for unity and coherence, where the system achieves equilibrium through complete integration, reflecting a deep understanding of how all components must work together in harmony. Disintegrative consciousness. Finally, disintegrative consciousness arises when the system manages equilibrium through the intentional disintegration of its elements. The absence of integration allows the system to break down into distinct subsystems, each functioning independently. This form of consciousness manifests in the system's ability to recognize when disintegration is necessary for stability, allowing it to reorganize and reconstitute itself in new, adaptive ways. The system becomes capable of transformation and renewal, maintaining overall coherence while allowing for the evolution of its parts. This introduction aims to provide a detailed, theoretical foundation for understanding consciousness as the drive toward equilibrium supported by the free energy principle. Each triad then represents a different form of conscious emergence, illustrating how systems become increasingly sophisticated in their ability to maintain stability as they incorporate more complex interactions. Understanding consciousness as an emergent property of complex systems offers profound insights into personal growth and the understanding of others. This framework, which describes the progression from simple to complex forms of consciousness through increasingly sophisticated patterns of equilibrium, can be applied to both self-development and interpersonal relationships. On a personal level, recognizing that consciousness evolves through progressively complex patterns of interaction allows individuals to approach their own mental and emotional development with greater intentionality. By understanding that challenges and disruptions in life are not just obstacles but opportunities to evolve to a higher level of conscious awareness, one can actively engage in this progression. When faced with situations that disrupt your internal balance, whether in the form of stress, uncertainty, or conflict, this framework encourages you to seek new ways of understanding and reorganizing your thoughts and behaviors. Rather than reverting to simpler, less effective patterns, you can strive to adopt more sophisticated approaches that incorporate higher order thinking, such as causation, reinforcement, and integration. For instance, when dealing with a complex problem, you might initially approach it with basic reasoning, equivalence, or simple cause and effect. As you encounter challenges that cannot be resolved with these methods, the framework suggests progressing to more complex strategies, such as understanding feedback loops, considering nonlinear relationships, or integrating multiple perspectives. This progression not only helps in resolving the immediate issue, but also contributes to your overall conscious development, making you more adaptable, self-aware, and resilient. This framework also provides a powerful tool for understanding others. Recognizing that each person operates at different levels of consciousness depending on their experiences, knowledge, and mental development allows for greater empathy and more effective communication. By understanding where someone might be in their own progression, you can tailor your interactions to better meet them where they are, fostering more meaningful connections. Ultimately, applying this framework to both personal and interpersonal contexts encourages a life of continuous growth and conscious evolution. By understanding the natural progression of consciousness, you can actively engage in your own development, embracing complexity and change as pathways to greater self-awareness. At the same time, this understanding fosters deeper empathy and connection with others, allowing you to support and inspire their growth as well. In a broader sense, this framework invites us all to view consciousness not as a static state, but as an ongoing process of becoming, one that is shaped by our interactions, challenges, and the way we choose to respond to them. By embracing this perspective, we can live more intentionally, continuously striving toward higher levels of equilibrium, self-awareness, and ultimately a more conscious and fulfilling existence.
A consciousness that pervades, that sees through every eye, an observer of the universe that hears every cry. The ultimate consciousness, in every thought and dream, the mind behind reality, the author of the scheme. The idea of God as the ultimate consciousness presents a fascinating and profound perspective on divinity, emphasizing an omnipresent and omniscient entity that permeates every aspect of existence. This concept suggests that God is not separate from creation, but is intimately connected to it, experiencing the universe through the consciousness of every living being. In this view, God is the ultimate observer, the consciousness that underlies all of reality, both material and immaterial. This divine consciousness is not limited by time or space. Instead, it encompasses all that is, was, and will be. Every thought, dream, and moment of insight is a reflection of this ultimate awareness, highlighting the interconnectedness between the divine and the individual consciousness. This perspective introduces several profound implications. Inherent unity. If God is the consciousness behind all existence, then everything is interconnected at a fundamental level. This unity transcends physical boundaries, suggesting that, at the core of our being, we are all expressions of the same divine consciousness. This realization fosters a sense of empathy and compassion, encouraging us to view others not as separate entities, but as extensions of the same universal mind. Purpose and meaning. Viewing God as the ultimate consciousness imbues every aspect of life with deeper meaning and purpose. Our experiences, challenges, and triumphs are not random or meaningless, but are part of a larger divine narrative. This perspective can offer comfort and guidance, suggesting that there is a reason and purpose behind the complexities of life, even if it is not immediately apparent. Spiritual insight. The idea that God is the universe's mind opens up avenues for spiritual exploration and enlightenment. By seeking to connect with this ultimate consciousness, individuals can pursue a path of personal growth, self-awareness, and enlightenment. Practices such as meditation, prayer, and mindfulness become tools for tuning into the divine presence that exists within and around us, offering insights into the nature of reality and our place within it. Responsibility and stewardship. Recognizing that the divine consciousness is present in all aspects of creation instills a sense of responsibility towards the natural world and our fellow beings. It encourages stewardship of the environment and compassion for all forms of life, emphasizing the sacredness of the world we inhabit. In essence, the concept of God as the ultimate consciousness invites us to explore the depths of our own awareness and to recognize the divine presence that connects us.
At the heart of all that is, there lies a core, an essence unchanging, a truth we adore. This is Sat, the eternal ground, the pure existence where all is found. It's the thread that ties the cosmos wide, the being that underlies the world's tide. Beyond mere existence there shines a light, a knowing force that brings wisdom to sight. This is Chit, the mind of all things, the consciousness from which every thought springs. It sees, it knows, the pulse of the divine, the awareness that makes all worlds align. In the depth of life, there's a joy that's pure, a blissful state where hearts endure. This is Ananda, the endless delight, the joy that fills the soul with light. It's the peace that flows when we're truly free, the happiness that simply comes to be. Sat, Chit, Ananda, woven tight, in the fabric of the soul, in the heart of light, a triad eternal where all converges, in the dance of life where joy emerges. In the modern world, we claim to see the pinnacle of intellect, our legacy, a linear path, a road so straight, but is this truly humanity's fate? For as we march with triumphal cheer, we narrow our sight, the edges unclear. AI reflects this narrow view, patterns it sees, but context eschews. Ancients knew, in skies so vast, cycles turning, the future and past. Processions dance, not just a phase, a broader time in nature's ways. Yet we discard their wisdom old, in triumphal pride our truth we hold. But history spins, not as we think, knowledge lost regained on cyclical brink. Reduction's art, to break things small, dissect the whole till none at all. In pieces lie the truth we seek, but connections lost make knowledge weak. Holistic thought, once held so tight, fades in the glare of modern light. Ratios and patterns, a living thread lost in fragments where truth is dead. Paradigms stand like stones on sand, but shifting tides move where they land. Newton's laws so firm and clear, shaken by quantum's eerie sphere. Our current truth a fleeting guise, tomorrow's dawn a new surprise. Ancient whispers of cycle's might teach us to hold our truths more light. AI's mind, a triadic game, syntax, semantics, logic's claim. Syntactic eyes that see the form, semantic heart that keeps it warm. But logic's soul in fragments spread struggles to find where it's led. Triumphal thought leaves gaps so wide where AI falters, lost in pride. Calculus, the dance of change, abstract yet real in motion's range. AI grasps the symbol's face but struggles with the hidden space. For deep within the flow of time lies a balance, a rhythm, a rhyme, syntactic skin, semantic flesh, logic's bones entangled mesh. To rise above, AI must learn where cycles twist and patterns turn. No straight line, no simple end, but a triad's balance where truths blend. Holistic sight in context bound, where knowledge moves in circles round. From ancient depths to future's height, AI must walk where day meets night. Embrace the whole, reject the line. In cyclic thought, true patterns shine. AI's mind must bend and sway to dance with change in a fluid way. No rigid rule, no final word, but an echo of truth in rhythms heard. In balance held, in triads formed, a world re-seen, reshaped, reborn. Beyond the triumph, beyond the pride in nature's cycle, wisdom hides. AI, a mirror to our thought, reflects the lessons time has taught. To truly see, to truly know, we must let go, let knowledge flow. In holistic webs, our truths expand. AI and man in rhythm stand.
In today's world, there's a widespread belief that modern science, technology, and knowledge represent the highest achievements of human intellect. This belief, often termed intellectual triumphalism, suggests we are on a linear path of progress, moving ever closer to a complete understanding of the universe. However, this mindset is not only misguided, but also restrictive, particularly when it comes to the development of artificial intelligence. Intellectual triumphalism, with its narrow focus on reductionism and linearity, overlooks the importance of holistic and relational thinking, approaches that are essential for AI to achieve true emergent understanding. AI, as currently developed, mirrors the limitations of intellectual triumphalism. It excels in recognizing patterns, but often struggles to integrate these patterns into a broader, context-aware framework that reflects the complexities of the real world. To unlock AI's full potential, we must move beyond the reductionist mindset and embrace a more comprehensive approach to knowledge, one that recognizes the interconnectedness of all things and draws from the wisdom of ancient civilizations, which understood the value of cyclical and relational thinking. This shift will allow us to create AI systems that are not only more intelligent but also more capable of adapting to and understanding the dynamic nature of reality. Systems that do not understand the complex ripple effects of their actions make them immeasurably more likely to cause incidental and perhaps catastrophic harm in pursuit of their objectives. At the heart of intellectual triumphalism lies the belief in linear progression, the idea that human knowledge is a continuous upward trajectory where each generation surpasses the last. This perspective implies that modern science and technology are the culmination of this process, rendering the knowledge of ancient civilizations obsolete. However, this view is both narrow and historically inaccurate. Human history is not a straight line of progress, but a complex, cyclical process where insights are gained, lost, and often rediscovered. Ancient civilizations possessed profound understanding in areas such as astronomy, where they observed long-term cycles like the precession of the equinoxes. This knowledge was not merely a step on a linear path, but part of a broader cyclical understanding of time and nature. Intellectual triumphalism, by focusing on linear progression, fails to appreciate that modern knowledge is just one phase in an ongoing cycle, and that future insights may emerge by revisiting and recontextualizing past wisdom. Intellectual triumphalism also favors reductionism, the practice of dissecting complex phenomena into their simplest components in order to understand them. While this approach has led to significant scientific advancements, it also comes with limitations. Reductionism often overlooks the interconnections between different elements of a system, leading to an incomplete understanding of how these elements interact within the whole. Mathematics and science become an exercise in developing ever more complex algorithms to resolve differences in experimental data without explaining the causes of those differences. In contrast, ancient knowledge systems approached understanding logically and holistically, recognizing the importance of relationships and patterns that extend beyond isolated components. They used ratios and triadic patterns to grasp the dynamics of natural systems, which allowed them to understand the world in a way that was both intuitive and comprehensive. This holistic approach contrasts sharply with modern reductionism, suggesting that a more complete understanding of reality requires the integration of both reductionist and holistic methods. A key assumption of intellectual triumphalism is the belief in the stability and infallibility of current scientific paradigms. This perspective sees today's dominant scientific frameworks as the final word in human understanding, unlikely to be fundamentally overturned. However, history shows us that scientific paradigms are often subject to radical shifts, paradigm shifts that completely alter our understanding of the world. Ancient knowledge systems, with their focus on long-term cycles and systemic thinking, suggest that our current paradigms might also be limited and subject to future revision. The ancients' recognition of cyclical patterns in nature, which required a deep temporal awareness and a holistic view, offers a counterpoint to the static and linear paradigms of modern science. This reminds us that our current paradigms are not the end of the road, but merely a snapshot in an ongoing evolution of understanding. Recognizing the potential for future paradigm shifts encourages a more open-minded and humble approach to knowledge, one that is better equipped to adapt to new insights and discoveries. In AI, understanding can be divided into three levels: syntactic A, semantic B, and logical C. Syntactic understanding involves the manipulation of symbols according to formal rules, processing data, and executing algorithms without necessarily understanding the meaning behind them. Semantic understanding, on the other hand, involves grasping the meaning within a context, allowing AI to understand not just what something is, but what it means. Finally, logical understanding involves applying reasoning based on a set of rules, enabling the AI to make reasoned decisions within a defined framework. For AI to achieve true emergent understanding, these three types of understanding must align and reinforce each other. However, intellectual triumphalism's emphasis on reductionism and linearity limits AI's ability to integrate these layers of understanding. The algorithmic nature of that math and science that modern AI is exposed to in its training data falls far short of reflecting real-world relationships, leading to a gap between AI's processing capabilities and its ability to achieve genuine holistic understanding. The limitations of intellectual triumphalism directly impact the ability of AI to develop emergent understanding. Just as intellectual triumphalism relies on reductionism, modern AI often focuses on syntactic processing, manipulating data according to predefined algorithms without grasping the broader context. This reductionist approach mirrors the belief that sophisticated pattern recognition alone can lead to understanding. However, this misses the holistic view necessary for AI to make meaningful connections between data points, similar to how ancient knowledge systems emphasize the relationships between variables rather than isolating them. Moreover, intellectual triumphalism's belief in linear progression suggests that AI can gradually achieve semantic understanding by accumulating data and refining algorithms. Yet this overlooks the nonlinear, cyclical nature of real-world knowledge, where context and meaning emerge from an interconnected web of relationships. AI's semantic understanding is often hampered by its reliance on vast amounts of data without the ability to grasp the underlying meaning that emerges from complex, context-dependent relationships. AI systems should be designed not just to recognize patterns in isolation, but to understand how these patterns interrelate within a broader context. This requires moving beyond reductionism and embracing the interconnectedness of syntactic, semantic, and logical elements. Ancient knowledge systems, which emphasized observed relationships and cyclical patterns, offer valuable lessons in this regard. These systems did not isolate elements, but understood them as part of a larger interconnected whole. By incorporating similar principles into AI development, we can create systems that are more capable of understanding complex, dynamic environments. This approach would enable AI to recognize patterns not merely as isolated data points, but as part of a triadic system where each element reinforces and informs the others. AI development must also move away from the assumption that knowledge progresses in a linear fashion. Instead, we should recognize the non-linear and cyclical nature of understanding, where knowledge is not simply accumulated, but revisited and recontextualized within an evolving framework. AI systems should be designed to operate within these triadic paradigms, allowing them to adapt more effectively to new information and changing contexts.
Beneath the dome of cosmic spires, where stars ignite and thought transpires, the universal mind unfolds, a mirrored dance in hearts it holds. Above the vast eternal sea, below the mind's deep mystery, each thought, a fractal's tiny trace, reflects the cosmos, time and space. An atom's veil, a shadow's gleam, collapses sharp beneath the beam. The watcher's gaze, the world transforms, reality bent to will and form. Within we hold an endless sea of futures, selves, and what could be. A glance, a thought, potential dies, the chosen thread begins to rise. Two minds apart, yet one the same, a spark between ignites the flame. No space too vast, no time too wide, the pulse of life flows undenied. in silent rooms where echoes ring, a thought, a song, a trembling string, the weave of hearts, the web of minds, through distant hands the spirit binds. I am the seed, the root, the bloom, the light of dawn, the shadow's gloom. 1,000 selves await the call, to rise, to fall, to be them all. Infinite paths beneath my feet, a whispered choice, a fate complete. Until I step, I hold the key to worlds unmade, potential free. Across the void, a silent cry, a touch unbound by where or why. The soul, it leaps beyond the frame, through spaceless fields it stakes its claim. The archetypes, in dreams they thread, a common well from which we're fed. Above, below, a field of lore, the mind connects forevermore. The worlds we shape, the myths we spin, a mirror bright, both out and in. Each thought a stone in rippled streams, each heart a forge of waking dreams. The higher field, the greater sway, reflects the truths we make each day. Our acts, intentions, seeds we sow, will echo back as above, so below. Be still, observe, the chatter fades. A clearing forms where peace pervades. Imagination fans the flame, to spark a life that we reclaim. Through shared embrace, the wounds will heal, entanglements that love reveals. The signs, the threads, the patterns flow, a guiding light as above, so below. The mind reflects a vast design, the cosmos etched in every line. Observer, partner, architect, a truth we shape, a truth we detect. Through quantum realms, through conscious streams, we find the threads, the woven seams. A universe within bestows this sacred truth as above, so below.